So, like I said, dividends are not getting paid unless the equity investors, unless the other tranches of debt have been paid, such as the term loan 1, term loan 2, the subordinated debt. And if we have other hybrid securities, they have to get paid first before the equity investors because they are taking the highest risk as a result of embarking in such a transaction. So they receive nothing except the other tranches of debt have been paid. So we just set it up here to be zero in all of the cases here because but if in case we need to change certain assumptions in this schedule to say that this private equity generated a lot of cash flow on and above that which was attributed to the other line of investors, then we will later on distribute the remaining cash flow as dividends to the equity investors. In this case, we are assuming that whatever cash flow we're going to generate from operations will be used to pay the other tranches of debt. So we are not accounting for any dividends paid at the start of this model going forward. And then we also have the cash from issuance of equity. This cash from issuance of equity accounts for how much we intend to raise capital in order to finance this transaction from equity investors. So we know this is a leverage buyout, so we use a maximum amount of leverage to acquire this company. So the equity investors are basically the private equity, and also it could also, if this company has to raise equity, it will just go to raise equity from other institutional investors such as hedge funds. So basically we are not accounting for any issuance of equity as such, no repurchase of equity as well. So they will just set up an assumption in case equity has to be issued in the private market, then we will set up numbers here for the issuance of equity as a result. And then next, we want to talk about many things in our model. So here we have several schedules. We have the revenue schedule, we have the cost schedule. We have many other schedules here, such as the working capital schedule, we have the asset schedule, we have the depreciation schedule, we have our tax schedule. So we gonna be calculating all of these schedules from scratch. So there is a lot to cover up here. So first of all, for the revenue schedule, we have the breakdown of revenue. So we have the sales volume, which we're gonna bring from our inputs, which we already talked about a while ago. We have several cases set up for the sales volume as well as the pricing. So we will pick up whatever the cases we determine will be the best for this model going forward. We'll pick up the case here and we will just reference it in our model. And then we also have the plant capacity. We've set it up to be a maximum of a maximum plant capacity of approximately 1,550 $550 million. That's approximately $1,500,000 for this plant capacity, because all of these are in thousands. So this is gonna be in millions. So we're saying that the volume shouldn't exceed this plant capacity. That's exactly what we're seeing in this model. So in case the volume have to be greater than the plant capacity, then we will have to flag it up to management. Why? Because we know that this has to be less than or equal to the plant capacity. But if it exceeds the plant capacity, if the volume exceeds the plant capacity, then we'll have to flag it out to management. So in this case, we will just use the conditional format in our model to make sure that if, let's say, going forward, volume increases than the plant capacity, then we will have to later on account for that to say this plant this plant equipment is taking more than it's supposed to take. So it's very important to mention that in our model. Also, we also have the pricing. Like I said, we have pricing, which we set up assumptions for, and also we have our revenue. So volume and price is the breakdown of revenue. The reason why we are breaking volume and pricing down is because for very large companies, to estimate the volume, the revenue going forward, it's very, very important for us to break down the revenue so that we can be more accurate to understand the sales going forward for this particular company. But if it was, let's say, a very small company, which this private equity was about to acquire, then we will just assign a year-over-year growth rate for the revenue, and then we could use that estimate of the year-over-year growth rate to later on predict what the revenue will be in the future. But in this case, we said that we have to be very, very precise, since it's a large company, to come up with the